Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at the Topik test again, and I thought it would be a good idea just to go through a few questions together. So I'll show you some questions from the reading section. You can have a go at answering them yourself, then we'll go through the correct answer together. And I've also prepared a lot of example sentences for the other possible answers, just to show you how those grammatical points work, in case you encounter them in other questions. This is a bit of an experiment, so let me know if you like this format, and also let me know if there are any specific questions from the Topik test that you want me to go through. So it can be from the reading test, the listening test, even the writing test would be okay. Just let me know and I'll make the next video about those questions. The questions we're going to look at today are questions 1 and 2 from the reading test. So they'll be suitable for beginner and intermediate learners of Korean. If you're an advanced learner of Korean, don't worry, I'm going to make videos about the later questions in another video, so stay tuned for those. Okay, let's have a look at the first question. So this is question 1 from the 35th Topik test, and it's from the reading section. So question 1 and 2 is always putting a certain form of a verb into the parentheses here. So you've just got to choose the right ending. Usually it'll be the same verb for every option, but sometimes it can be different verb as well. First, I want you to pause the video here, have a go at answering the question yourself, and when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll go through the answer together. Okay, first let's read the sentence and make sure we understand what it means. So, 어제는 친구들과 같이 점심을 뭐뭐뭐 바로 도서관에 갔다. So let's make sure we know all of the words in this sentence first. 어제 means yesterday, and 는 is marking it as the topic of the sentence. So it's sort of like saying yesterday and then continuing the sentence from there. 친구 means friend and 친구들 means friends, so it makes it plural. 과 means and or with, and when you have 과 같이, this always means together with. So 친구들과 같이 will mean together with friends. 점심 is lunch and 을 is the object marker. So it's saying 점심 or lunch is the receiver of some sort of action. The verb here, we don't know which ending yet, but we know that it's 먹다, which means to eat. So 점심을 먹다, to eat lunch. There'll be some sort of ending, and then 바로 means straight away or immediately. So whatever you do, you're eating lunch, and then straight away, something else happens. 도서관 is library, and 에 indicates motion towards something. So 도서관에 will mean to the library, and 갔다 is the past tense plain form of the verb 가다, which means to go. So 도서관에 갔다 would mean went to the library. So this sentence actually doesn't have a subject, but you can just assume it's the first person. So it'll mean something like, yesterday I ate lunch with some friends and immediately went to the library. So what we need to put in here is something that means ate and then. Because in the sentence, it's ate lunch and then did something. So let's first have a look at the incorrect options, and then we'll look at the right answer at the end. So the first option here is 먹든지. So 든지 is one way of saying or, and usually it's used when you're telling somebody to do something. So it's basically giving them a few options and telling them to choose between those options. So one example of it would be 피자를 먹든지 햄버거를 먹든지 마음대로 해 or 마음대로 하세요. So in this case we have eat pizza or eat hamburger. Do whatever you want. 마음대로 해. So 든지 하다 is this sort of form. 이거 하든지 그거 하든지 하세요. Do this or this. So you give them a few options and telling them to do one. So the next option is 먹거나. Now 먹거나 also means or, but it's not used as much for commands. It's more just saying generally he does this, or I do this or this, and it's not really restricting it to just these things. So it's more of a general word for or, and I would say it's slightly more common as well. So a good example for this would be 저는 주말에 보통 친구를 만나거나 영화를 봐요. So in this case it's saying, usually on the weekends, I meet my friends or I watch a film. So in this case, it's not giving a command, do this or this. It's more saying, I sometimes do this or sometimes do this. It's just saying that it's one or the other. And it's a bit less restrictive than 든지. Okay, lastly, the other incorrect answer is 먹다 보면. So 먹다 보면, it's actually kind of similar to the correct answer, but 먹다 보면 means as you do something. And it has a bit of a nuance of saying as you try it, as you continue doing it, as you see how it is. Usually you're saying you're continuously doing something and something else is happening. So let's see an example. For example, here we have 한국어를 계속 연습하다 보면 실력이 늘 거예요. So in this case, we're saying if you keep practicing Korean, your skills will get better. So here we have 연습하다 보면, 연습하다 보면, as you practice, as you keep practicing, if we add the word 계속. So as you practice, as you try practice, as you keep trying practicing, your skills will get better. So that's the meaning of 먹다 보면. So the correct answer is 먹고 나서. So you can already see from 고 that this will mean something like and. So even just having 먹고 would make sense in this sentence. 친구들과 같이 점심을 먹고 바로 도서관에 갔다. This would make sense. When you have 먹고 나서, there's a bit stronger meaning of the first action being completed. So it's saying, I ate lunch with my friends, we finished that was all done, and then the next thing we did was we went to the library. You could sort of think of this 나서 as coming out of something. So 나와 or 나가 or anything like that usually means to come out of something. So you could say, we did the eating of lunch, and then we came out of that action and we went to the next action, which was going to the library. So that was question 1. Okay, let's move on to question 2. First, pause the video, have a go at answering it yourself, and then you can unpause the video and we'll look at the answer together. Okay, let's read the sentence first and we'll break it down. 이사 갈 집을 뭐뭐뭐 방학 때 좀 바빴다. Now this sentence is slightly more complicated than the last one because it has this relative clause here. If you don't know how relative clauses work, I've made a short video on them. I'll put the link here. And if you want to know more about it, I'll be making a longer, more in-depth video about it when I do my short crash course in Korean grammar. So stay tuned for that video in the future. So here we have, it's most useful here to start from this word 집. So 집 means house, and 집을 will mean that the house is the object of some verb here. And the thing that comes before it here is describing the word 집. So 갈 집 would mean by itself a house where we will go, or a house where I will go. There's no subject, so we don't know. This word 갈 is the future relative, the future attributive form of 가다, which means to go. So 갈 집 is a house where we will go, but it's not just 갈, it's 이사 갈. So 이사 가다 means to move house or to move. So 이사 갈 집, this whole little bit here will mean a house where I will move to, or a house where we will move to. Again, there's no subject, so from context we have to maybe assume that it's just the first person. So a house where I will go to. That's this whole section here. Again, 을 marks it as the object of something, so this whole thing is the object of this verb, which is either 찾다 or 구하다. Now, both of these verbs mean the same thing. They mean to find something. And there's a sort of a small difference between them in meaning, but usually you could use either of them interchangeably. So it'll mean to find a house. So 집을 찾다, 집을 구하다. As you encounter these words more and more often, you'll get a bit more of a sense for when you use one or the other in just a natural way. Anyway, the next part, 방학, is holiday or vacation from school. So during your vacation time, during your holiday time. And then 방학 때 means a time. And it's used to mean when something happened. So in this case, you could translate 방학 때 as in the vacation, during the vacation, when I was on vacation. So this 때 indicates a time when something happened. So 방학 때. 좀 means a bit, little bit. And 바빴다 is past tense, plain form of the verb 바쁘다, which means to be busy. So this whole sentence should mean something like, I was finding a house to move to, so during the vacation, I was a little bit busy. Now, let's have a look at the possible answers here. So again, we have two different verbs, but the verbs mean the same thing. They both mean to find. So we need something that means that you were doing something, and because of that, you were busy. So we were finding a house, and because of that finding, we were busy. So let's have a look at the incorrect answers first, and then we'll look at the correct one. First, we have 쳤더니. Now, 쳤더니 is very close to the correct answer, and you would be forgiven for thinking that it was the correct answer. It means and so, and I've written here that it means you discovered something, because usually you use this when something happened and that caused you to realize something or come up with some sort of thought. So one example would be 오랜만에 운동했더니 다리가 아파요. So this means I exercised for the first time in a long time. That's what 오랜만에 means. I did exercise for the first time in a while, and my legs hurt. So I did this thing, I did exercise, and after that I realized that my legs hurt. So it has this nuance of discovering something or experiencing something because of that first thing. So it wouldn't really make sense here because you're just busy. It's not like you're discovering that you're busy or that you discovered something about it. You're just saying, I was doing this, so I was busy. The next one, number 2, 찾으려면. 찾으려면 means, one good way of translating it is if you want to do this. It can also mean like in order to do this, but I think it's best to think of it as if you want to do this. You can think of the 면 as if, and 려 in like 하려고 하다 means you're trying to do something or you're wanting to do something. So 찾으려면 would mean if you want to find something or in order to find something. If your goal is to find something. A good example for 려면 would be 공항에 가려면 무슨 버스를 타야 돼요? So in this case it's saying in order to go to the airport, or if I want to go to the airport, 무슨 버스, which bus do I have to take? 타야 돼요? So this is a really common way to use 려면 to accomplish some sort of goal. If I want to do this, what should I do? So again, it wouldn't really make sense for this sentence here. Number 3 is 도록. Now 도록 is actually quite similar to 하려면. It also means in order to, but it has more of a meaning of for the purpose of something, or you do something in a way that something else happens. So it's used for causing another action. In this case, 구하도록 would be to cause something to find, or do something in such a way that someone finds something. So it's very commonly used when you're giving advice. So for example, be careful that you don't do this, or be aware that this might happen, or that you should do this. And it's also used when you're saying what you will do. It's like saying, I will be sure to do this, or I will do something in such a way that I do this. It's a very sort of formal way of saying you will do it. 이거 하도록 하겠습니다. So a good example for this would be 길이 미끄러우니까 넘어지지 않도록 조심하세요. So in this case, it's saying the road is slippery. 길이 미끄러우니까, it's slippery, so 넘어지지 않도록. So 넘어지지 않다 would be not fall, to not fall over, and 이거 하지 않도록, 넘어지지 않도록, so that you don't fall over, or in such a way that you don't fall over. For the purpose of not falling over, 조심하세요. Be careful. So be careful that you don't fall over. And finally, the correct answer is 구하느라고. Now, this is quite an interesting ending, 느라고. It's very, very commonly used with the verb 바쁘다. So this means that it explains the reason why some other thing happens. So it's basically saying, I was busy in this sentence, and the reason that I was busy was because I was doing this. 구하느라고. I would just say, since there are some other endings which can mean similar things, this is really common to use just with the word 바쁘다, to say I'm busy. I was busy doing this. I was busy finding a house. I was busy because I was tied up doing this thing. So the answer for this one is number 4. Okay, next we're going to move on to question 1 from the 36th topic test. I'm going to try and get through 4 questions in this video, but I have plenty more to go through, so if you like these ones, I can do more in the future. So again, pause the video, try and answer it yourself, and we'll come back and look at the answer together. Okay, let's read the sentence. It says, 친구와 내가 운동장에서 축구를 뭐뭐뭐 선생님이 나를 부르셨다. So let's check all the words, make sure we know. So 친구, we saw before, means friend. 친구와, 와 means and, or it can kind of mean with as well, but and. 내가, so na is I in 반말, in the informal or an informal speech. But when you add ga on the end, that na changes to ne. So 내가. Ga is the subject, so it's saying that me and the friend, we are the subject of the sentence, we did something. So we did some sort of action. So my friend and I did something. 운동장, so 운동 by itself means exercise, and then 운동장 is a place where you do exercise. So you could say it's a gym. Any room which is made for exercise, you could call 운동장. And then 에서 means the place where some action happened. So it would mean, in this case, it means in the gym or in the exercise room. Whenever you have 에서, it means you're doing something in there as well. Some sort of action. It's not just a state, it's some action is happening in there. So in the gym, 축구 is soccer, and 를 is the object marker. So something happened to soccer. And in this case, the verb with it is just 하다, to do. So we did soccer, or in English we'd say we played soccer. We don't know what the ending is yet. The next word, 선생님, is teacher, and 선생님이, again, it's a subject. So the first clause subject was my friend and I, we were playing soccer in the gym, and then the teacher did something. 나, again, is I, in 반말, in informal speech, and 를 is the object. So I am now receiving some sort of action, something's happening to me, and 부르셨다 is the past tense plain form, and it's also the honorific form with the 셔 of 부르다, which means to call. So this whole sentence would mean my friend and I were playing soccer in the gym, then something, and the teacher called me. The teacher called my name, basically. Okay, so let's have a look at the wrong answers first. First we have 하거나. Now we saw 거나 before. We saw that it means or. I already explained it, so I don't need to explain too much more, but I do have another example. You can use this not only with verbs, you can also use this with nouns. So in this case, the example is 저 사람은 경찰이거나 군인인 것 같아요. So this means that person seems like a policeman or a soldier. So in this case, it's 경찰. Now, 거나 can't just come after a consonant, after a 받침, so it needs to be 이거나, 경찰이거나, 군인인 것 같아요. 군인 is soldier, 경찰 is policeman. So you can also use it as saying or between two nouns. The next incorrect one is 하면서. Now, you would also be forgiven for thinking this is the correct answer because it means while. So while you do something. It always describes two continuous actions. So a good example for this one would be 저는 보통 설거지를 하면서 음악을 들어요. This means usually while I'm doing the dishes, I listen to music. So these two actions are happening at the same time. 설거지 하면서 음악을 들어요. So 이거 하면서 그거 해요. Two things happening at the same time. And finally, we have 하든지. Now we also saw this before. Usually it's a command telling you to do something. So another good example, very similar to the previous one, was 더우면 점퍼를 벗는지 창문을 열든지 하세요. This means if you're hot, take off your jumper or open the window. It means do one of those two things. Either do this or do this. The correct answer is 하는데. Now, 하는데 is one of the most common endings that you'll hear in Korean. It's very flexible and it's very useful. It has sort of a mix between and, like as sort of continuing on your story, like we did this and then we did this. It can sometimes have a little bit of a contrastive meaning, like a little shade of but, like I did this, but something else happened. A lot of it depends on the tone and the context, but this is a very common ending that you can add to verbs, and it's really useful, and it makes your speech sound really natural when you use it. In this case, we're saying we were playing soccer, so this thing happened, and, or sort of but, the teacher called me. So it has this meaning of you're doing some sort of thing, and then it's sort of setting up the rest of the sentence. It's sort of like telling a story. You're setting the scene for the story. So we were playing soccer in the gym, that's the setting, and then the teacher called me. Okay, we've got time for one more. So again, pause the video, have a read of the sentence, try answer it yourself, and then unpause the video and we'll look at the answer together. Okay, let's read the sentence together. 민수 씨는 대학교를 뭐뭐뭐 회사에 취직했다. So let's check that we know all the words first. So 민수 is just a name, and 민수 씨 is kind of like saying Mr. Minsu, but it's a lot less formal than that, than it is in English. You would use she if you want to call somebody by their name, but either they're older than you, or if you're not close enough to just call them by their name. So remember, in Korea, you can't call somebody just by their name unless they're younger than you, or you're same age and very close friends. So usually, if you're not that close, or if they're older than you and you need to use their name, you'll call them 민수 씨. So we have 민수 씨, and then 는 is the topic marker. So it's sort of, again, setting 민수 씨 aside as the general topic for this sentence. So we're saying all of this sentence is about him. So 민수 씨, 대학교 is university. So you can remember it means 대 is big, it's the hanja for big, and then 학교 is school. So big school is university. 를 is the object marker. So university is receiving some sort of action. Then we have the verb here, which is 졸업하다. 졸업하다 means to graduate. So we say 대학교를 졸업하다 would mean to graduate from university. And remember, we use 를. Instead of saying from university, you say we graduated university in Korean. We don't know what the ending is, but the rest of the sentence is 회사. 회사 is company. So it's the general word for any company. And then 회사에. 에, again, it usually means motion towards something. In this case, sort of by analogy, it means he 취직했다. He got in, or he got a job at a company. So he entered a company, basically, entered a job. So we know that this means Minsu graduated university and got hired at a company, basically. Minsu graduated from university and found a job at a company, started a job at a company. So let's have a look at the incorrect answers first. Firstly, we have 해도. So whenever you add 도 on, you have to conjugate the verb first. So it's 해도, 졸업해도. You'll see for some of the other ones, you don't conjugate it first. You just add it straight on to the plain 하다, or whatever it is, the plain dictionary form. But for 해도, you have to add it on to the conjugated form. So just remember that. 해도, or 어도, means even if. So even if you did something else happened. That's the best way to explain it. A good example of this would be 빨리 뛰어도 지하철 못 탈 거예요. So even if you run quickly, 빨리 뛰어도, you won't be able to catch the train. So 지하철, the subway. You won't be able to catch the subway. 지하철 못 탈 거예요. So in this case, yeah, it's saying it doesn't matter. Even if you do this, you won't be able to do that. And just notice that the dictionary form is 뛰다, but I've conjugated it as 뛰어도. So even if you run. Okay, the next incorrect answer is 한다면, or 다면 on the end. Now, this one is conjugated onto the plain form. So 한다면, or sometimes 하다면, or 했다면. If you don't know about the plain form, I'm going to make another video about conjugating the plain form and using reported speech. So stay tuned for that. For now, just know that 한다면 is the plain form with 다면 on the end. 다면 means if, but it's a bit more hypothetical than just having 면. So if we say 졸업하면, this means if you graduate. But 졸업한다면 is a bit more like in the case that you graduate, or let's say you graduate, or if you graduate, in a more hypothetical way. So a good example for this would be 좀 더 일찍 일어났다면 학교에 늦지 않았을 거예요. Now, it's a slightly more complicated sentence at the end, but the thing to notice is that I said, if you woke up a little bit earlier, So in this case, we're setting up a hypothetical past scenario where you woke up earlier. And then from there, we're talking about what could have happened in the future. So it's sort of like a second or third conditional in English. So if you had woken up earlier, you wouldn't have been late for school. The next incorrect one is 하더라도. So we have 졸업하더라도. Again, notice the slight differences in conjugation here. So this is just on the plain form, just on the dictionary form of the verb. So 하더라도 is very similar to 해도. You can see they both have do on the end. So it also has a meaning of even if, but it's also slightly more hypothetical. So maybe you could translate it like, even if you had done this, even if, let's say, even if you had somehow managed to do this, something else happened. So a good example would be, 우리는 돈이 없더라도 행복해요. So the difference here is that this one is setting up a hypothetical situation. It's saying, even if we didn't have any money, we'd still be happy, or we would be happy. If you had just said 돈이 없어도, it's a bit less hypothetical. Maybe you don't have any money, and you're saying, even though I don't have money, even if I don't have money, I'm still happy. This one, it's more like, even if I didn't have any money, I would still be happy. The correct answer is 졸업하자마자. This 자마자 means as soon as. That's all it means. As soon as you do something. So immediately after. So the sentence means, 민수 씨는 대학교를 졸업하자마자 회사에 취직했다. It means as soon as Minsu graduated from university, he got a job at a company. So 졸업하자마자. It's very useful for just that very specific case, as soon as you do something. And yeah, you can use this whenever you want to say that one action happened immediately after another one. I hope this video is useful. Let me know what you think about the format and if you want me to do more videos like this. Again, if there are any questions that you have particular difficulty with in the topic test, let me know and I'll make the next video about those ones. But until then, keep studying Korean and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.